Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So it is currently the summer of 2024, and as of right now, suppressor wait times are the lowest they have ever been, to the point where everything's out of stock everywhere. And in my day job, my normal life, some guys know that I do all this gun stuff on the side, so I get asked about suppressors quite a bit. And I thought about making this video to talk about all the ins and outs of what it actually takes to suppress an AK, because it's a bit more involved than suppressing AR-15s or bolt guns or sub guns or even pistols. AKs have a lot of nuance, and there's a lot of things that you have to check and just be aware of before you decide to actually suppress one, or if it's even worth suppressing the certain variant that you have. So let's go ahead and get into it, what it takes to actually suppress an AK and some things to look out for. Let's start off with the things that you just gotta know before you decide to suppress your AK. Number one, AKs are inherently overgassed. They're overgassed on purpose to be reliable with just about any ammo out there. A suppressor is basically like a muffler. Like a muffler on a car, it adds back pressure. So an AK that's already very overgassed with a conventional can installed is going to overgas it even more, to the point where it could be so overgassed where it might be harmful to the gun or just very unpleasant to shoot, because the recoil will be so great and the gun's going to feel like it's really just beating itself apart. So just keep that in mind. Another big thing with AKs is, certainly with imports and non-American made AKs, a lot of them can have non-concentric barrels, or the threads aren't concentric to the bore. The bore is not perfectly centered through the barrel. These are all things that are very common with overseas AKs, com block era AKs. So I highly recommend that you check that visually, and also invest in a suppressor alignment tool to make sure that you're not going to have baffle strikes. Those are really the two big things to worry about when suppressing an AK. So don't be surprised if you have to deal with one of those two issues or both issues when you're trying to hang a can off your gun. Now, if you were unfortunate enough to buy an AK that has a non-concentric barrel, there's not a whole lot you can do. You could look into maybe buying a Dead Air Wolverine suppressor, which is made for non-concentric barrels. The holes that go through the can towards the end cap actually get progressively bigger, almost like a cone shape, assuming that your round's not coming out totally centered. That's a really good option for AKs. In fact, you see one on the screen now. I've actually had to do barrel swaps on AKs. I've just had barrels that were so bad, my Draco in particular was so bad, even a Wolverine would baffle strike. I just had to swap the barrel out. Some gunsmiths might be able to work some magic and fix that for you, but in my experience, if it's bad enough, it just requires a barrel swap. Now, if your gun is excessively overgassed and you've just made it worse by putting a can on it, there's a number of things you can do, starting from like the cheapest of the cheap. There are buffers that you can actually put on your recoil spring. It's basically like a rubber bumper that your carrier smacks off of. You can actually get enhanced power recoil springs to help dampen the speed at which the bolt travels rearward. To me, one of the best things to do is just put a K&S piston in it. It's a way to actually tune the gas, and you don't need a gunsmith to put it in for you. If you're savvy, you can figure it out and you can pop it in yourself, and you get a ton of adjustment. The only downside is you have to disassemble the gun every time you want to adjust it. The best way to do it, but it's the most expensive, the most time consuming, is to swap in a tunable gas block. All of your adjustments are done on the fly on the outside of the gun without needing to disassemble and get your hands covered in carbon, but it is the most expensive option. I want to get into can selection a little bit, because that's a huge part of this. There's not a ton of suppressor manufacturers out there that cater to AK thread pitches. Your 14x1s, your 24 millimeters, your 26s, even like your VZ58 with the 14x1 right hand. Those are not super common. Those are all metric thread pitches. That's all European stuff. Most of your American stuff is all going to come out in 1/2x28, 5/8x24, and so on. So that already dwindles your options down a little bit, but there are a ton of aftermarket manufacturers making thread adapters and hub adapters, and a lot of cans are hub adaptable now, where you can actually change out the mounting system to pretty much anything you want these days. So if I were to select suppressors for an AK today, here's what I would look for, and here are the mounting solutions that I would look at. I think we should start with the Dead Air Wolverine. It has to be the best one-stop shop suppressor for the AK platform, period. And a big part of that is its mounting system. Not only does it have the design for non-concentric barrels to give you a little bit wider of a berth where you won't have a baffle strike, but it's the way that it actually mounts to an AK. Out of the box, they come 14x1 left hand. They have a collar system that actually will lock into the spring-loaded detent that most AKs have that will keep it from loosening, which is a big deal. And they have just about every AK thread pitch out there totally covered. They have a thread insert for your Wolverine. They're not always in stock, but they do make them, so I dare you to find an AK that you actually can't adapt a Wolverine to. It can just about handle them all. Another really great suppressor that's come out lately for AKs is the Resilient Putnik. It comes ready to go for 24mm threads. Not as common as 14x1, but there's a ton of 100 series style AKs being sold in the US today, as well as there's just a bunch of crinks and a bunch of 74s. Those all have 24mm threads, so out of the box you'll be able to actually thread it on your AK. And it has a little bit of a flow-through design, so as far as overgassing goes, it really does help in that department. So let's say you want to put any other traditional can on an AK. To me, there's really only one easy way to do that. So it doesn't matter what can it is. It doesn't matter if it's another Dead Air like a Sandman that uses chemo, maybe it's something from Q, maybe it's a Silencer Co, maybe it's an AAC. It doesn't matter, because the majority of those suppressors use a proprietary flash hider or a muzzle brake to lock onto, so this requires you to put that muzzle device on the AK. The best way to do that without messing with your concentricity is to not actually smash the muzzle device into your front sight post, because an AK doesn't use a crush washer like an AR-15 does. There's no shoulder on the barrel where the threads stop for you to actually like smash the muzzle device into. So the best way to do that is to figure out whatever can you're going to decide on, make sure that they offer a face mounting option for that thread pitch. J-Mac and Reardon do a lot of stuff like that, where the muzzle device actually tightens to the bore of the barrel and will never come in contact with the actual sight post. A muzzle device coming in contact with the sight post of your AK will not hold it perfectly flat or centered. It could cause baffle strikes, so you want a muzzle device, quick detach mount, whatever you want to call it, that tightens to the face of your barrel, and you always want to check it with a suppressor alignment rod. Geisley sells them. They're expensive, but with AKs, it is mandatory. You absolutely have to have one. And with the right tools, you can mount any can to any AK with that method. My final bit of advice: if you're going to buy one suppressor for like your whole fleet of guns and you want it to cover all your AKs too, so this is probably going to rule out the Wolverine or the Putnik, you want a more traditional can, I would go 30 cal no matter what. That 30 cal can handle your 7.62x39 AK, your 5.45, and your NATO AK, your 5.56 gun. It can handle it all. It's like a one-size-fits-all glove kind of thing. That's what I do, and I've had really good luck with it. All right, everyone. That's it for this video. Really can't think of anything else. I think I covered all the bases as best I can. If I missed anything, or if you have any more questions, feel free to list all that down in the comments below. And I want to hear from the viewers that have had a lot of experience suppressing AKs. What have you had good luck with? What suppressors are you using? What kind of mounting solutions do you guys like? What works for you? I'm sure the people that are watching this video trying to get some questions answered would really benefit from hearing from not just me, but from all of you as well. So thanks for watching, everyone. If you want to support what we do here and you like the channel, go by thirdpinthreads.com. We got a lot of cool AK merch. It directly supports the channel. And the best thing about it, it keeps the Leviathan paid ad reads away, where we don't have to talk about ball sack razors. Love you, bye. I can see the big